With more than 14 minutes of brand new Hogwarts Legacy gameplay footage, it's no surprise that eagle-eyed fans are already finding a ridiculous amount of hidden details, Easter eggs, and secrets that are sure to please longtime Harry Potter fans. So in today's video, we're going to take a detailed look at the new trailer to talk about 55 secrets you may have missed. First up, at the 38-second mark, the main character approaches Hogwarts under darkness. If you look through this darkness, just behind the character, you'll see a familiar sight for Harry Potter fans and what is undoubtedly the Quidditch pitch. Quidditch still hasn't been officially confirmed to be in the game, or at least playable in the game. A little bit further in, at the 51-second mark, an armored troll demolishes this building and charges the player. Note the red eyes, which are almost certainly linked to the corruption mentioned later on in the trailer. At 1:07, you'll get this amazing wide shot of Hogwarts where you can make out a number of familiar locations such as the Owlery, herbology greenhouses, and plenty more. Then at 1:14, you'll step inside Hogwarts and get a glimpse of an older version of the school crests featuring the 4 houses, as well as house-specific banners. For this shot at 1:18 of the trailer, Professor Fig and our character are standing before some sort of portal that's clearly showing Gringotts on the other side. Perhaps this is some sort of fast travel system since our character can't apparate yet. Just a few frames later, the same duo find themselves in an even larger room with a series of similar looking portals. The flooring in this room also catches the eye here and almost appears to be a map of surrounding terrain, or perhaps this location is somewhere deep underwater. At 1:27, we get our first glimpse of the goblin Ranrock, and you'll notice he has the R adorning his belt here. He also has a goblin to his right in some sort of law enforcement uniform, perhaps a security officer at Gringotts. In this scene here, we move back into the Great Hall, which contains a number of features relating back to the 4 houses, such as the lion here and eagle here. At 1:46, you get a close-up shot of the stained glass window, which also features the house mascots, as well as the winged boars of Hogwarts. You can also make out some text here that appears to be at least inspired by Latin. The first word means true, the second means learn, the third means truthful, and the fourth means magic. So, safe to say it's saying something about learning true magic. The various circles here below would appear to show different phases of the moon. As our character wakes up in the Gryffindor common room, you'll catch sight of a moving portrait in the background. This portrait turns out to be the first of many, as numerous portraits throughout the castle seem to have a life of their own. In the very brief shot of the Hufflepuff common room, we see quite a few plants scattered throughout. Perhaps this one here is a Mimbless Mimbletonia. Here we find 2 characters in a classroom with a number of spells printed on the boards behind them, some of which have yet to be confirmed as usable in the game. At 2:25, as we move into the Charms classroom, you'll catch sight of a diagram here showing a mountain troll. A few seconds later, we get a wider shot which reveals even more spells in the background. And let's talk about this professor for just a moment. If you take a closer look at the pendants he's wearing here, they appear to be snakes on both sides. Could it be that our Charms professor is the head of Slytherin House? As our character heads out into the courtyard, you'll see that the students are dressed in a variety of different clothing types. There are also multiple Slytherins in the shot that appear to be wearing Quidditch robes and equipment. At 3:23, our character makes their way down the hall toward a portrait in what almost has to be the Fat Lady in her position guarding the entrance to Gryffindor Tower. Later, at 3:48, we're treated to a quick look at the 5th floor prefect's bathroom, which appears to be designed nearly exactly as described in the books. I mean, look at this. It features a number of colored water taps and even the diving board, guys. They put the diving board in. Here, the students are in what is undoubtedly the history of magic classroom, and it looks like Professor Binns was boring students even back in the late 1800s. Also, if you look in the background here on the window, you'll clearly see the name of Merlin. And that's not the only mention of Merlin in this trailer. In this sequence here, our character casts Accio to retrieve a floating book. Perhaps this is a hint we'll once again be finding lost items for other students in a nod to the original Harry Potter video games. Here, as our character catches up on the magic they've missed out on learning, you'll spot the gamekeeper's HUD in the background. And here, around 4:24, most people are talking about this shot which shows someone flying on a broom in a Quidditch uniform with the Quidditch pitch in the background. But if you pull back just a few frames earlier, notice the creature on the ground here. It's certainly a winged creature, but at least from this angle, it doesn't appear to be a hippogriff. Perhaps it's a thestral, or maybe even a young dragon, dare I say. The trailer is packed full of magical creatures, including the Floopers here in this shot. At 4:54, we get a nice close-up view of the Daily Prophet, which shows a date of September 1st, 1890. This gives us a much more specific time frame than the broad late 1800s Avalanche has referred to so far. There are 2 specific notes about this date that I find interesting. First of all, considering it's September 1st, that would be the start of a new term at Hogwarts. Perhaps this moment is when our character is actually flying to Hogwarts for the first time, and yet they certainly don't appear to be taking the Hogwarts Express. Why remains to be seen. The 1890 date also means we'd be starting our Hogwarts journey 2 years before Albus Dumbledore arrives at the school. Should the player character created in Hogwarts Legacy see their 7th year, either in this game or possibly a sequel, then that same year is when we should see a young Albus Dumbledore arrive at Hogwarts for the first time. We also get a look at Ranrock's power, and he's clearly capable of some strong magic as he blocks the incoming spell from Fig and fires back in retaliation. And of course, he does all of this without a wand. I mentioned the troll with red eyes earlier, and here you can also see that these goblins have the same red eyes, and this scene plays just as the narrator describes creatures being corrupted by some unknown magical force. At 6:15, we see 2 wands colliding in an effect that looks practically identical to Harry and Voldemort's duel in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire when Priori Incantatem occurs. It's worth noting those who worked on the films took a bit of creative liberty with this visual effect, considering it would appear in other duels throughout the rest of the series, even among wizards whose wands didn't share cores. In this shot, we see a banner showing some sort of winged creature, perhaps a phoenix. And later at 8:07, there's this adorable demiguise statue. Here we get a great look at the main menu of the game. Notice the character, inventory, talents, collections, challenges, map, owlpost, quest, and settings tabs across the top. The cards in the middle also confirm we'll be upgrading core abilities, stealth abilities, room of requirement, and 2 others on the left that they don't hover over in the trailer. The one on the far left is almost certainly spells, but what about the red one here? I'm just guessing here, but perhaps these are offensive spells, whereas the blue on the left are more for navigating the world. It appears our character will learn Revelio at some point. Notice how after they cast this spell, we can instantly see hidden objects highlighted in yellow through the walls. At 8:22, we get a quick look at some stealth gameplay after the character casts a disillusionment charm to sneak up on the unsuspecting wizard walking through the room here. The same room is also home to multiple loot chests, which you can see here and here. Again, staying in this same room, we can make out yet another banner on the wall. This one appears to be of a centaur using a bow. Here we get a nice look at the gear upgrade menu, which includes a section for traits, upgrades, and appearance. On the right side of this shot, you'll find an eerie sight of house elf heads mounted to the wall. Perhaps this is a nod to house elves hanging in number 12 Grimmauld Place back in the original series. And in this scene, we spot what appears to be even more students in Quidditch robes and Quidditch gear. Who knows, maybe the characters here are all heading down to watch a match between Ravenclaw and Slytherin. Throughout the trailer, you may also notice these little green flames that appear around Hogwarts. It's unknown what they are at this time, but my guess is they're some kind of landmark that may even serve as a fast travel point, or maybe even a save point. Then again, most games these days allow you to save anywhere, so who knows on that one. There's actually another one right here, and on this one you can almost make out the writing at the bottom. Wildsmith maybe? Maybe this actually relates to something we saw back in the menu titled Collections. Okay, for this next one, I admit, there's probably no way you missed this one, but how awesome is it that we're gonna get Peeves in this game? Peeves confirmed, you guys. Let's go. Appears someone is trying to sneak around, and Peeves is making things a little more complicated for them here. At 10:51, you can see a couple of violins playing on their own, which really helps to make the world feel alive and, well, magical, where the magic just appears to be working on its own. And oh boy, this one right here, I can't wait to see what people think, because this one, to me, looks like an all too familiar icon for fans of the series. That's right, to me, it looks awfully close to the Mark of the Deathly Hallows, but with the wand missing, and instead, in the middle, it has a question mark instead. Here we jump inside the room of requirement, and you'll catch sight of a pot hopping on 1 foot. If you've read Tales of Beetle the Bard, you may remember coming across the story called The Wizard and the Hopping Pot. Author J.K. Rowling described the Hopping Pot tale as a moral story to encourage wizards to use their magic for good. Great shot right here where if you look closely, you can see what's clearly a chocolate frog on the desk just behind the menu. Also, I have to say, I love whoever came up with the idea to include the dung beetle statues here beside the fertilizer area. Inside the room of requirement, you'll be able to create your own menagerie where you can nurture magical beasts, and inside, we catch a brief glimpse of what I think is an incredibly tiny owl. Shout out to Pigwidgeon, as well as this cat. So, pets confirmed, maybe even multiple pets confirmed. It would also seem this trailer reveals that our character has indeed witnessed and experienced death, as we can see the Thestral flying by here. In Hogsmeade, we get a look at a couple of different vendors, and the menu here confirms we'll be using currency true to the books, as you can make out what appear to be galleons, sickles, and canutes here at the top of the menu. Looks like it will cost you a full galleon to pick up a Wiggenweld potion. At 12:35, we get a quick shot of the Ollivanders branch located in Hogsmeade just behind the character here. More Thestrals here at 1337, this time with our character interacting directly with them. This next shot, to me at least, is one of the most fascinating shots of the whole trailer. We see a goblin chauffeuring our character and Professor Fig through what I think has to be Gringotts. If it's not Gringotts, it's clearly some elaborate tunnel or cave system that's been designed by the goblins, but again, my money here is on Gringotts, especially when you combine this with the earlier shot where we were looking through that portal. Because through that portal, I think 100% Gringotts. On this next one, I can't blame you if you missed it because it happened right after the Avada Kedavra reveal. Trust me, I completely missed it my first time. But you'll see a shot here inside the Hog's Head, which we know is in Hogsmeade. And in this scene, our character is having a conversation with this goblin. Shortly after that, we see these massive bones, which have to be that of a dragon, right? Possibly a horned serpent, maybe even a basilisk. Avalanche revealed a ton of Hogwarts Legacy details in the State of Play, as well as a PlayStation blog post. I cover that entire blog post here in the video on the right side of your screen, so check that one out next. As always, people of the internet, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.